So many of the veggies that you are going to be harvesting this summer are sown in April. So grab your seeds and join me for a seed starting session, and then let's go outside and I will show you all the veggies that you can direct sow or plant in April. I'm using a mixture of sifted compost and peat-free potting soil today. It's so nice to just close the shed doors behind me and shut out the hustle and bustle of everyday life and just work in silence. Now there are only the seeds, my hands in the soil, and all of my plant babies. There's nothing quite as calming as seed starting. I sowed these cabbage plants a month ago and they have gotten quite big, so I am transplanting them into their own pots. I carefully separate the plants before they can move into their own containers. If your plants do not separate, mine had already been quite intertwined, then you can just put them in water for a couple of minutes. I promise it becomes much easier. After sowing and transplanting, my plants always receive a gentle shower. And next are the tomato plants. They are also very happy to move into their own potty today. We will plant some tomatoes in the greenhouse later, which is something I'm very excited for. April is the perfect time to start your cucumbers indoors. I'm growing 2 different types of cucumbers. One is for snacking and for all the cucumber salads that we are going to be enjoying when we're having barbecue nights. I'm so excited for barbecue season, by the way. And the best snacking variety, in my opinion, is Tanya. But I am preserving a good chunk of our harvest every year, and my boyfriend is obsessed with pickled cucumbers. Therefore, I have to grow a lot of pickling cucumbers, and my favorite variety is called Vorgebirgstraube. I know these are all German varieties and they're not available to everyone. I'm currently shipping a lot of the seeds that you see in this video to EU customers, so if you live here you can order them. Okay, so you have the permission to grow a lot of cucumber plants, but one plant that you should only grow 1 to 2 or maybe 3 of is the zucchini or courgette, because they are just producing way too many fruits. The next one is a staple for our winter food storage, because you can store pumpkins up until April if you are growing storing varieties. I am growing 2 varieties that are for stuffed pumpkins. My favorite is the sweet dumpling. I love to bake it with leek cheese stuffing, but I'm also growing the classics butternut and Hokkaido. I roast them in the oven a lot of times or make soups from them. But there are also quite a lot of veggies that are frost hardy and that you can harvest all winter long. I am sowing 3 of these right now. The first one is my favorite Brussels sprout variety. It's called Idema, but we're also growing many Savoy plants each year and a lot of winter leeks. You can still sow these in May and June. By the way, I'm doing seed starting videos every month, and you can subscribe to my channel if you want to keep on growing your food with me. But don't make the mistake to sow them too late in the year, because even though they are meant for winter harvesting, they need to grow big before winter arrives, because once the temperatures are so low, the plants will not grow anymore. So they need time to grow before it gets cold. The next one loves the sun more than anything. These are corn seeds. I'm growing a popcorn variety and to other ones that are for bread baking, making pancakes and polenta and stuff. But I'm also growing some sweet corn because all of these varieties that I just mentioned are harvested when the cob is really dry. So when you would harvest them earlier, like you do with sweet corn, they do not taste as good. They are not sweet. Therefore, I am growing this beautiful sweet corn variety called Damaun, and we are going to be enjoying this on all these barbecue nights that we are planning. We love to eat them straight from the cob with a little bit of butter and some salt. It's just so easy and so delicious. I am no longer alone in the shed. My son just joined me. He's 10 years old and he just wanted to sit here and watch me. And let me tell you, the atmosphere when I'm sowing my seeds is just so calm and so relaxing that he's just quietly reading a book in the corner. It's so cozy.
Du solltest doch aufpassen, Titus. Du verlierst alles.
Here I'm showing you that you can also grow some basil now. It's one of my favorite herbs, which is why I already planted a lot in March. You can also grow nasturtium now. It's a beautiful edible flower, and the one I am growing is vining, which means it can climb up fences and it's so pretty. As homesteaders, we are cooking from scratch most of the time, which means that we are in need of many onions. This one is called Robelia. It's also a German variety. It is a good producer and the onions store very well. These celery plants need some love as well. We are transplanting them into their own little containers. And something that my boyfriend cannot get enough of is broccoli, which is why he requested that I grow 100 plants this year. This might be a little excessive, but if you need a tip for a really good variety, it's Calinaro for me. I'm from Germany, by the way, which is pretty much like gardening in a zone 7 to 8 in the US, and it's also pretty similar to gardening in England if you want to compare it to your location. Our last frost date typically is in the middle of May, and the frost-free growing period lasts until the middle of October usually. This is the first English video on my channel, and I am planning to do this every time now, so you can look forward to a lot of gardening advice and some homesteading stories here and there. Depending on the weather, you can do a lot of things in your garden in April. You can basically plant every seedling from the cabbage family right now, which are cabbage, red cabbage, savoy, broccoli, cauliflower. All of these can be planted right now, and I love to plant them in the same bed as my leek plants. I am covering both of them with insect netting because they have so many pests that I cannot grow them without these, and it's easier for me to just put them in one bed and put one net over both of them. My friends are always joking that these things that I'm putting on my plants look like UFOs. If you're wondering what these are, these protect my plants, especially the little seedlings, from slugs. We have a lot of slugs here, and I'm covering them with these little cloches. It's basically like a little greenhouse for each plant. It looks funny, but it comes in very handy because my plants are growing much faster underneath these when it's still cold in the springtime. And here is the insect net I was talking about. I put it on these hoops that I made from spring steel. I planted some kohlrabi. It's a really beautiful purple variety Then my leek, it's a summer variety called Hilary, and on the right side are some cabbage plants. Here is something that is very important for all sorts of cooking adventures. It's spring onions. My favorite one is called ishikona. If you like carrots, sorry, we have this little lamb in our living room right now and he's crying. If you like carrots, then grab your seeds and start growing them right now, because it's the perfect time now. And I am going to be growing a big amount of carrots this year because we finally have a root cellar to properly store them in for the winter. The same thing goes for beets. This one is called Tondo di Chioggia, and if you slice it, it's so pretty. It's ringed in white and red. It is the most beautiful beet you will ever grow. This bed basically is my salad buffet.
Salad buffet.
I just had to look it up, how you pronounce it. So this one is my salad buffet. This is where I am growing all sorts of lettuces, which you can plant right now. And what would a garden be without dill? I told you we need a lot of it because we are going to be canning so many pickled cucumbers this summer. I'm also growing arugula right now and wintercress. And here you can see my broad beans. Mine have already sprouted, but you can still sow these in April. You can still start peas right now, and spinach and radishes. And now we're heading to the best plants in the entire garden, which are tomatoes and potatoes. It's still a little early to plant them in the beginning of April. I'm usually waiting until the beginning of May before I plant them, depending on the weather. But something you should be doing right now is putting your seed potatoes in a warm spot for 2 days, like your living room or your kitchen, in order to activate the tubers. You're now putting these in egg cartons in a cool room that should be frost-free. That is very important. Then they are going to be developing really short and strong sprouts. Not like these. You could still plant this potato, but the sprouts are so leggy and weak that it's not ideal. But you want these really strong green or purple sprouts, and they will give your plants a head start when it's time to plant them in the beginning of May. Now let's go to the greenhouse in order to plant the tomatoes. We recently moved to this farm, so we had to move the greenhouse from the old garden. Therefore, I have to reassemble these wires that I need to grow my tomatoes. Something like this happens to me at least 5 times a day. I cut the wire way too short. You can always improvise. I'll show you a method that will give you twice the harvest in the same space, and we're using this tiny little gadget for it. Let me show you how it works. So you plant your tomato as usual. If you've grown tomatoes in a greenhouse before, then you might know that once they touch the ceiling, you need to cut them. This tool is used in professional agriculture a lot, and it helps you to keep growing your tomato plants because you don't need to cut it once it reaches the ceiling. I simply place the hook at the wire that I have strung up and then unroll the thread and knot it loosely around the base of the plant. When your plant grows, you'll start to wrap it around the thread. I'm trying to demonstrate it with the tiny plant here, but you only need to start doing this once your plant is a little bigger. And once your plant reaches the roof of your greenhouse, you will simply take the hook and place it to the left or the right side. Then your plant can keep on growing. It's hard to show you in an empty greenhouse, but I promise I will film it for you once the plants are bigger. And now just go outside and make the world a little greener. Bye.